When you're training your dog, it is, I don't have enough time, I'm frustrated, nothing is working. And over 20 years of training dogs, there are a few things that stand out to me that I wanted to cover with you today. If you are feeling frustrated, if you are feeling like nothing has worked, you need to start changing what you're doing immediately. And if you stick with it, you will see results. So the number one thing that I have learned in the last 20 years of doing this is training is what builds the bond between you and the dog. Working through the struggles that you have with your dog builds a massive bond, and you will see payout if you just stick to it. You take that one little piece and you just build from there. You don't look at the end result. You look at where you're at right now and one small thing that you can change that will make things better for both you and the dog. When you are going to sign up for dog training, whether it's an online class, whether it is a local dog training club, you have to commit yourself to doing the work outside of class. If you show up to class just that one session a week, or you meet with your trainer and you're working there and then allowing your dog to revert to bad behaviors, or you revert to your bad behaviors, nothing is going to change. It starts with in the home. So when I am looking at people that want to train and they're saying, I have tried everything, nothing is working, you need to look at the big picture of the life with your dog, both in the moment where you think you're training and all of those little moments outside of the training where the dog is collecting information from you of what it should be doing and what it should not be doing. So an example of that is I have a client that has had some struggles with her dog in class where the dog is unable to focus around other dogs. If distraction is presented, the dog is not able to let it go. And in further conversation with this lady, the dog has free access to running around with toys in the backyard constantly, having access to toys in the house constantly. And so whatever the dog sees, it gets. And that's hard for that dog to understand then when it is given all of these free opportunities at home inside, and then it comes someplace with the owner and it's being told, no, you can't have it. The dog's frustrated, the owner's frustrated, but what the owner wasn't realizing is how that related to the overall understanding in the dog's brain. So if we don't put some parameters on the dog at home, we are not going to have that transfer when the dog is outside the home with us. You have to work committed both at home on downtime and then when you are working your lessons. So you have to do the work. You just have to do the work. It's really not training the dog, it's training you. We are the ones that are the leaders of our dog. We are the ones that are letting them know what's acceptable in life with us and what's not acceptable in life with us. So if we are not looking at ourselves and what's okay to us versus what's okay to the dog, that's where that breakdown can happen in communication with making progression with your dog. I'll give you an example of that. You are frustrated that your dog is jumping on people when they come over, or the dog is getting overly excited when people are coming over, and you just don't know what to do. So you've thrown your hands up in the air and said, well, I don't know what to do, I've tried everything. But yet when you come home, or maybe family members come home, that dog is allowed to engage in those behaviors, which are really rewarding to the dog. And then you're yelling at the dog or disciplining the dog when new people are coming in. The dog doesn't understand that. It all starts with us. So we are teaching the dog with us what's acceptable behavior, how we want the dog to behave, and then that can transfer to other guests coming in the home. Your dog is a reflection of you. Every strength that I have or you have is pushed into the dog, and every weakness or hang up I have with myself internally, the dog absorbs that. So we always have to look at that when we're moving forward and we want to see change. So as an example of that is I like having control of my dogs. I like things going my way, and when things don't go my way, I get frustrated, right? That's something that I have to always be aware of and work on, because my dogs are creatures. They're animals. They have their own mind. And just like I screw up sometimes, they're going to screw up sometimes. And that's okay. But it's just constantly this work in progress of, it's really all about me at the end of the day. I can't place blame on my dog. I have to look at myself first. I have a client that has been working with me for 2 or 3 years now, and when he started, his dog was a mess. And I'm sure some of you can relate to this. The dog was incredibly leash reactive to people, to dogs, situations. It was a hot mess. And when he came in here with this dog, we were 30 feet away and the dog was exploding on leash with anything that walked into the door. And the handler was nervous. I could see it in him. His hands were shaking. He was embarrassed. It was a mess. 2 years later, you wouldn't believe the change in the dog and the owner. And really, it's the owner that changed. When he first came to me, he didn't understand my humor. He didn't understand sometimes the way that I talked to him, and it made him nervous. And looking back at that now, we just talked about this the other day. He's like, I looked at myself and I was an absolute mess. And that's why his dog was a mess. But as he has continued and not given up, their relationship through the training and the bond, he used to think he's had the best dogs ever before this dog and was comparing this dog to previous dogs. He now realizes this dog that caused him all this frustration, is the best dog he has ever trained. It has changed everything about how he looks at it. And so now he walks in here and the room is filled with 20 dogs. He just strolls on in with good old Rex, and Rex holds it together because Brett is able to hold it together. And that is just one of many success stories that I have seen. You're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. That is part of learning. If we get frustrated and throw in the towel and want to give up because we're having a bad day or the dog is having a bad day, you fail to move forward. And you have to embrace that and learn from it. And that is what's going to make a difference in how you train. Years ago, I had a client with 2 German Shepherds, and they were naughty. And the male German Shepherd was potentially dangerous. They started with me too late as far as the learning, so a lot of this learning had set in with these dogs because the behaviors were being allowed and just strengthened every single day. Running the fence line, aggressing at other dogs or people, going on walks, lunging at dogs and people. So the dogs were just continually practicing this bad behavior that she wanted to go away. And ultimately, she got frustrated. She gave up. The training relationship between us ended, and I didn't see her again. And that's okay, because we all go through things in life, right? She came back to me just this year with a Springer Spaniel. She realized that that particular breed outmatched her. And with where she was at in life, physically, mentally, she wanted just a breed that was more suited to her. And so she picked up this Springer Spaniel puppy and brought him to me and started off on the same path where she was frustrated. She was crying in class because the dog was just being a nutcase. She looked at herself and changed it. And this dog, at not even a year old, has obedience titles, which some of you don't care about, but he's a really good dog. He's a good dog around people. He's a good dog around other dogs. She is telling me she's finally having fun. She just had surgery, so she's on one of those knee scooters and is able to bring this dog into class on a knee scooter and work around all these other dogs because she's committed and she's figured out the frustration is not going to get her anywhere. That's going to hold her back. So embracing the good things is what will move her forward. It's a really fun story of how just sticking to it is going to help and propel you forward. Overcoming challenges is the ultimate success, and you can't give up. You just can't. We bring these dogs into our lives, and we like the idea of having a dog. And a lot of us don't think about how much work goes into the picture in her head of growing up with Walt Disney movies of Lassie and Rin Tin Tin and Benji. I'm dating myself, but it takes an immense amount of training for those dogs to behave that way. And if I look at myself personally, even what I thought was a really good dog 20 years ago compared to now, it's changed. It's completely changed where I was then versus now. And I love that part of learning and growing with my dogs because it's two entities learning. It's not just on me and it's not just on the dog. We have to do this together. I had a gal, and I have made some tremendous friendships over the years because of what I do. And that is something that is a blessing. She trained with me many years ago with a little Australian Shepherd and just did a couple of classes. Didn't see her again for many, many years. And about 3 years ago, she came back with a new puppy. I was not the instructor of that class. It was one of my other trainers, and the dog was a mess. Some of you can probably relate to this. Barking, lunging, screaming, throwing itself at the end of the leash. It was disruptive during puppy class. She was frustrated. She has 7 kids. She's a mom. She made the time. And this dog now, 2.5, 3 years later, is my ultimate success story of a dog that went from being completely out of control, a bite risk, to people, potential dog fighting issues. The dog is great with people. The dog is phenomenal with other dogs. She is working on a utility title. For those of you who don't know, that is the hardest thing that you can do in obedience for AKC or UKC, is get that utility title. But she made the time and she never gave up. And she has grown personally because of it too. She's not the same person that she was 2 years ago, where she would cry at almost every class or lesson or just feel like there was absolutely no hope for the dog. Now she is confident. She has started teaching dog training classes with me here, which is absolutely amazing. What I want to let you know out there, if you're watching this, is you need to find what works for you. And there is a lot of really good information out there, and there's a lot of really bad information out there. And you're gonna have to sift through that. And when you're doing this, I don't want you to think about it as being a quick fix. There's no quick fix to changing ourselves and our habits and growing us. That's a work in progress for the rest of our lives. And I think it's the same thing with our dogs. The dog that we have today, if we stick to it, if we just put 30 days of good, solid effort into it, and then look back at where we were on day 1 versus day 30, we're going to see a difference, not only in the dog, but ourselves and how we handle things. If you were committed to 30 days, think about the gym, and you stick with it, you're gonna see a little bit of result. But then what if you were to stick with it for a year? What are you gonna see a year afterwards? What kind of change could you go from with the dog that was horrible when guests came over to visit you for Thanksgiving and Christmas? And what is next Thanksgiving and Christmas gonna look like then, right? You have to stick to it. You have to take the time. You have to turn the frustration into a learning opportunity. It's gonna be hard and it's gonna be fun. Sometimes it's not going to seem like a whole lot of fun at the time, but in the end, it's going to be worth it as long as you stick to it. Thanks for watching this short video. I hope it was inspirational to some of you. You can leave a comment below. We plan to launch more and would really love your feedback as to some of the things that you're struggling with, what's working, what's not working, and hopefully we can fill in the blanks. Again, I learn because of people like you, so thank you for that to new viewers and all of my clients that are maybe watching this. Like, comment, and subscribe. We will be launching future videos in coming weeks. I want to end with one final note, and that is you have to want it. It's not about what you pay for in life with your dog. It is, I need to want this for myself and my dog, and if you want it, you can make it happen.